Good morning, everybody. Today is Monday, August 28th, and I hope everybody had a great weekend. Just a reminder, we will not be doing a Facebook Live next Monday due to Labor Day. Today, for the mug, I have my Union Station mug. It's a little hard to read because it's embossed right here. It says Union Station. And definitely, we need to talk a little bit about the contributions of unions to our society. So, organized labor has done a lot for the United States, and we need to recognize that and be cognizant of that. They've brought a lot of changes and a lot of positive things to working Americans. So, what do unions do? Well, today, many workers enjoy higher wages, better hours, the 40-hour work week, and safer working conditions. And that's just really important that they're looking out for those that are working hard in our society every single day. They also work towards ensuring that employees get medical coverage, gets adequate vacations, and again, I can't stress enough safer work environments. Really, we need to also thank unions for reducing the wage gaps for women workers and workers of color. They negotiate wages for anybody with regards to those that are in the union. So they do not have discrepancies between men and women and individuals of color. If you do the job, you get the same pay, and that's pay equity, which is really important. And then really overall, it gives workers a voice. And that's what I think is really important with regards to unions is so many times I talk to people in the community and they complain about their jobs and they complain about their boss and they complain about how they don't have any really any rights whatsoever when they're in a non-union job. And one of the things that I think is so important for unions and those that are in the unions and organizing union organizations is that you get a voice. You get to not have to take bad working conditions or toxic work environments with regards to where you're working. You have somebody in your corner standing up for you. So this Labor Day, I encourage everybody to look at the contributions, the positive contributions that organized labor has brought to not only workers, but pretty much to the whole society, because workers deserve to live comfortably. They need to pay their bills just like everybody else, and they should have a fair wage. And that's what's so important. And that's what unions stand up for. So again, this Labor Day, do some homework, research how unions have contributed to our society and how important they are to continue to support and maintain our unions. Now, Illinois is a pro-union state. We believe that people have the right to organize and that their contracts and that their benefits shouldn't be diminished or reduced. If you're a state employee, that's in our Constitution, and certainly that's something that we abide by, principles that we believe in, helping the working class, helping individuals get better wages, better working conditions, and benefits that they need. So again, Labor Day, Illinois is a pro-labor state, and I hope everybody has an enjoyable Labor Day weekend. Again, we will not be doing a Facebook Live next Monday. We will be returning in 2 weeks. With that, this week has been pretty light. So the Illinois State Fair is over. That was the fair that was in Springfield. However, if you missed the fair in Springfield and you want to go to a fair, the Des Moines State Fair is going on right now, August 24th through September 4th. If you want to go to Des Moines County, and you can certainly enjoy that state fair as well. But the Springfield State Fair is over. The governor has taken action on all legislation. We talked about that last week, and we also talked about the bills that the governor vetoed last week. The Illinois Supreme Court has finished issuing major opinions that I believe for the summer. And then we will touch briefly on the Tim Mapes trial. So there's not much that has gone on. We do have to send our condolences to Bob Barker's family. Bob Barker, I grew up watching him on The Price is Right. He passed away at the age of 99. So he had a very long life. with a lot of things that he did. And so we send our condolences to his family and individuals that knew him as he passed recently. So touching on the Tim Mapes trial. Now, if you've been watching it or not, I worked with Tim Mapes for a handful of years before he resigned as the clerk. He was the chief of staff, worked over the operations of the Illinois House, and he was also under the operations of the Democratic Party of Illinois. Now, we do have a new speaker, as you know, Speaker Chris Welch, and a different chief of staff. And I can say that the atmosphere in the new General Assembly with the new speaker and the new staff is much more conducive and just overall better than it was under the reign of Tim Mapes. But what Tim Mapes got found guilty of was perjury. He apparently was talking to the grand jury and perjured himself, and he was found guilty on that. So, but what does that mean for the state of Illinois? He didn't lie under oath as part of his official duties. This was after he had already left his employment with the Illinois House of Representatives. And it's very interesting. We talked about this last year. John Amdor, he keeps track of all the stuff. We talked about it last week, not last year. Last week, we talked about the number of years that Illinois House and Senate members have. And it's very interesting that we are looking at 54%. So the majority of House Democrats took office after June of 2018. So that was the day that Tim Mapes left the Illinois House. So majority of House Democrats have never worked under Tim Mapes. It's probably lucky for them, but has never worked under Tim Mapes. And so it's interesting because these individuals, they didn't experience a toxic work environment like I did, and like many others did when I got in. So a lot of things, like myself, I still remember those days. But like I said, most current House Democrats had nothing to do with any of that history. So pretty much working from a clean slate, which is, I think, why the Illinois House works so collaboratively today, is that people are now really focused on good policy and not some of the politics and other influences that Tim Mapes brought into the state house. So only 32% of House Democrats, which would be 25, never even served under House Speaker Mike Madigan. So 32% never served under Tim Mapes or Mike Madigan. So it's very interesting how this trend continues. And if it holds, it won't be long before the majority of the Illinois House will have served under the new speakership of Chris Welch. So we're very excited about that. So we've had turnover in the House and the Senate. Of course, Senate President Don Harmon has been in the Senate presiding over the chamber for 3.5 years. He has been in office, though, as a senator for more than 20 years. And then, of course, House Speaker Chris Welch has been the House Speaker for 2.5 years, and he has been in office for about 10 years. Actually, Speaker Chris Welch and I came in at the same time. We're of the same General Assembly, and we're roughly around the same age as well. So definitely, I've been working with Chris Welch the whole time I've been in the General Assembly, and we are, I can say we, but I know I am very pleased with his leadership and his speakership. So very happy with that. So we are looking at going forward with the vetoes. I know we talked about this last week, but I think that we are constantly looking at options. There are many bills, 6 bills that got vetoed. One of them was a segment in my bill, and I have been talking with individuals to see whether they're going to be called for a veto override, whether the vetoes will stand. So it's still up in the air. So that's something that we are working with as we go along. A couple of things that are kind of interesting. We'll just give you a couple tidbits here and send you on your way. But on Tuesday, August 29th, The Illinois Department of Agriculture is going to host 31 international buyers from 7 different Latin American countries to enhance existing relationships and increase export sales for the grain industry. As I've said before, Illinois is an agricultural state. We have an economy that's world renowned in our ag for really pristine products, and we have a good reputation worldwide for our agriculture. So it's called the Illinois Grain Tour, and it's going to give Illinois farmers, producers, and retailers the opportunity to showcase their world-class commodities and facilities to these foreign investors. So, as you know, I've said this before, you might have forgotten, Illinois leads the nation in soybean production, and nearly half of the soybeans and corn produced in Illinois are exported, resulting in billions of dollars of direct sales to the state of Illinois. We've talked about how big the economy is for the state of Illinois, and this contributes to it. And so the 2023 Grain Tour is going to kick off, again, I said August 29th. We can compare that to the 2022 Grain Tour that it did return in person for the first time since the pandemic, and it brought in about $65 million in projected sales. So we'll see how this one does this year. What we are looking at is the tour is meeting with representatives from the Illinois Department of Agriculture, and they are making stops at RTS Farm in Arbor, GSI in Assumption, Illinois, Farm Progress Show in Decatur, Illinois, Illinois Soybean Association in Bloomington, Illinois, Marcus Energy in Hennepin, Illinois, Seed Bureau Equipment Company here in Des Plaines, Illinois, DeLong Company in Joliet, Illinois, and Mann's Traders in Chicago. So that's pretty much where the stop is. Just so that you know, the participants of the Illinois Grain Tour are required to pay their own airfare, and there was a participation fee prior to joining the tour, but they definitely are going to be showcasing Illinois. So that's another tidbit that you may or may not know about the successful industries in Illinois. So speaking of ag and the farm, a couple people on Twitter were remarking when they deconstructed the butter cow. Now, individuals didn't realize that the butter cow was actually a butter on top of a form for the cow. Now, keep in mind that the butter cow already weighed between 500 to 800 pounds. So if it had been solid butter, not over a frame, it would have weighed double or triple that. So definitely there is some construction with the butter cow. It is a cow frame that they put the butter on, and they reuse the butter every year. So let's not have a big reaction, because the Illinois State Fair posted on Twitter, which is now X, but I'll still say Twitter, pictures of the deconstruction of the butter cow. Now, here's a fun fact. Dairy cows weigh between 900 and 1,600 pounds. It's a whole lot of weight. But the cows walk on the tips of their toes, and pretty much the equivalent of, as you would know, our nails, which is the hoof wall, and that bears the majority of the weight. So just so that you know, it's just a little tidbit from the ag area about a dairy cow weighs between 900 and 1,600 pounds. They walk on the tips of their toes, the hoof wall, and definitely that's a lot of weight on those little feet. So there's your information you can use with at your leisure of the dairy cow. One of the things that we had been talking about is the Bears and Soldier Field and Arlington Heights, and a lot of that discussion is still ongoing. It's ongoing discussion with regards to that team. So there's another team that is starting discussions as well. And these are things that come across the state desk that you may not think about, but things that we as legislators need to be aware of and keep abreast of when we're looking at things. So right now, the White Sox is talking about options, staying in Chicago, what the other options would be. They have a lease with Guaranteed Rate Field. That's the name of it, Guaranteed Rate Field, for 6 years remaining. So it's going to be an ongoing conversation for many years, but these types of deals do take multiple years to work out. And team owners, local stakeholders, and to make sure that the taxpayers are protected with regards to the White Sox. So definitely that's something that comes across our desk, something we have to look for, something to see what is going on. Now, there had been, some movement back in the day. The White Sox talked about moving and then they didn't move. And, it's just negotiations, and that's how negotiations work in any deal whatsoever. So certainly that's something that we need to keep an eye on and keep abreast of if anything's going to come in the General Assembly in the next couple of years. So something to familiarize ourselves, I know I am, with regards to that. Other things that come across our desks that you might not be aware of is carbon capture pipelines. So there's a prospect of carbon capture pipelines going through Illinois, and these pipelines are just what the title means. They capture the carbon and then they pump it down into the ground. So these pipelines, this is my understanding. So these pipelines are catching the carbon before it gets released in the atmosphere. And the ICC is looking at it, and they will make decisions about that. And, we really need to be careful about the decisions that are made with these pipelines, where the communities are going to be that they're going to run. And I think that, this is something that the state's going to be engaged in. This is something that we have to familiarize with it and look very closely with regards to that. Again, if there's some sort of leak, could be a big problem. We always have to be worried about these underground pipelines. So that comes across our desk. Of course, again, not again, but another subject that comes across our desk are landfills. So the climate and industry advocacy groups, Industrious Labs, showed that municipal solid waste landfills account for more than half of Illinois' industrial methane emissions. That's at 58%. So compared to other large industrial emissions from sectors such as mining, metal, manufacturing, food processing. So landfills are the third largest source of human-related methane emissions in the United States after livestock and natural gas, according to the federal EPA. So statewide, now we're going to talk about Illinois. Statewide, landfills emitted 9 million metric tons in 2021. That can be translated into about 1.9 million gas-powered cars driven for a year. So previously, methane gas was collected and used to fuel an electric generation plant with excess methane gas flared off on the site. So we are looking at this, of course, all options. So many landfills burn a flare, the process that converts most of the methane to carbon dioxide, reducing the impact on global warming. So we need to work to use this. We need to understand that this could have all sorts of issues, and and see how we can address this issue right here. And it's another thing that comes across our desk that you might not think about with regards to the state of Illinois. So furthermore, what else has come across my desk that I'm looking at? Oh, we did talk about the DuQuoin State Fair. They canceled on Friday. So I hope everybody was safe during the heat that was last week, 100 degrees, 100. I think I saw a factor of well over 100, 105, 110. So the National Weather Service issued warnings about high heat days. When I was back in the military in California, we used to call them Black Flag days, when the weather was so hot that you risked really passing out and health injuries with regards to how hot the heat was. So the Des Moines State Fair actually canceled its parade due to this heat factor, which I hope a lot of people are safe during the high heat, drank a lot of water. Today was not going to be in the hundreds, and so I hope people are really enjoying the weather from the weekend. But all in all, you need to be very careful with regard to extreme heat, extreme weather. There are cooling stations as well, so definitely if you're out in the heat, please be careful and drink a lot of water. So other than that, we did have the first Illinois human West Nile virus related death in 2023. There hasn't been a lot of mosquitoes because there hasn't been a lot of rain. So thankfully that hasn't really been a big issue, but the CDC confirmed the case was West Nile virus related. The individual, they were in their 90s. They lived in suburban Cook County, had an onset of symptoms of West Nile virus in early August and died soon after. There were 11 non-fatal cases of West Nile virus confirmed to date this year. Of the 12 human cases, 7 were reported from Cook County, including 2 in Chicago. To date, Kane, Macon, Madison, Will, and Woodford counties have each reported 1 human West Nile virus case. So just to let you know, still West Nile virus is still an issue. And definitely, you certainly need to be careful with regards to that. So one of the things that I've talked about often, that comes across my desk often, because I am on the committees for revenue, is the budget and the finances of the state of Illinois. Now, as you recall, we had quite the bit of issues with financially with the state of Illinois. That's not an understatement. That's the truth. It's been financially challenging for many years, even before I have gotten here. The state of Illinois was challenged. So the Illinois Office of the Comptroller, as I've said that before, prepares the state of Illinois' annual comprehensive financial report. And the annual comprehensive financial report is the state's official annual report. Now, I might have talked about this last Monday. Bears repeating, going to talk about it again. Great news, great news. Shows the financial position of the state as of June 30th, 2022. So the GAAP, which is called Generally Accepted Accounting Principles, is the basis of the financial position of the general fund, and it has improved as of June 30th, 2022 from June 30th, 2021. The fund balance of the state general fund improved by $4.6 billion on a GAAP basis, generally accepted accounting principles. The June 30th, 2022 balance was $1.5 billion. And so the last time Illinois had a surplus in the general fund was 1985. And I'll be quick disclosure there. I was in high school in 1985. And that surplus was only $19 million. So we are at a balance of $1.5 billion surplus in the general revenue fund. Huge. I know it doesn't sound very exciting to you. Doesn't sound like that much of a big deal. It's huge that we have not had a surplus since 1985. 85. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. So it's a good news. The state's net position improved from a deficit of $199.2 billion at the end of fiscal year 2021 to $184.8 billion at the end of 2022. That's a $14.4 billion reduction in our debt. So we're paying down our bills. Our debt's going down. So definitely we are looking good. Still looking at pension debt. Last week we had a pension committee hearing talking about fixing our pensions. Now, we will most likely increase some of the spending we need to spend in pensions today. But what we are doing is saving money down the road, because the longer we wait to fix our pension system, the more expensive it's going to get. And the crisis to be able to hire people gets worse and worse. And the state needs people. The universities need people. The schools that your children go to need teachers. We need professors. We need individuals to run the state. We need individuals to run the state facilities. It affects a lot. So we need to make sure that we have good policy for the people that are employed by the state of Illinois and also for the taxpayers. And so we are looking at that and getting our pensions into. We're working on our pensions. That's all I'm going to say right now. So where are we at with regards to the nation? Connecticut is about the same position as Illinois based on population, just to give you a little bit of a reference. So we are just, we have to say, Vermont is by far the best. They had a net positive position of $263.6 billion. Little tiny Vermont, that's incredible. But so they had the number one net positive with regards to all the information that was released according to the data. So just a little bit of a nugget there. And just good things. I know there's a lot of people out there that don't want to talk any positives about the state of Illinois. Any positives. They will reach for anything negative. But you know what? Illinois is going in the right direction financially, and we're doing some good things on the state of Illinois' level. So a couple bills that were signed that are worth talking about is House Bill 2898. We probably talked about this a little bit in the past, but it is holding for-profit colleges accountable for practices that might harm students. So it requires for-profit colleges with a final judgment or determination against them for operating an unfair or deceptive practice to reimburse the Illinois Student Assistance Commission for the Monetary Award Program, which is a MAP funding that the state gives to students that they received during the period of their deceptive practices. So this is to ensure that for-profit colleges are on the up and up. Now, state-run colleges, we have community colleges, and we have for-profit colleges as well. So make sure if you are selecting colleges to research the college that you are planning to attend. Or you can be like my son and join the military and certainly get your training through there. But in the past 15 years, Illinois has given more than $255 million in MAP funding, which is the MAP program, from taxpayers to institutions. And 4 of the 10 for-profit institutions that received the funding have since closed, leaving many former students with unmanageable debt and limited options to complete their college degrees. It's just simply horrific when these colleges lead students into believing they're going to get a degree and then they close on them. It is very, very, very difficult for these students to get back on their feet and to finish out what they need to do to regards to being able to graduate and start living in the profession that they went to college for. So in addition to that, we are looking at increasing the funding for the Monetary Award Program, the MAP program, to an all-time high, ensuring awards for all eligible applicants. Again, eligible applicants. So the budget included an additional $115 million in in-state scholarship funding, bringing a total amount to $750 million for in-state schools and for MAP funding. So definitely it's a huge issue. Also, the state of Illinois, University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign State Schools has a couple of renovation projects that the state is investing in. So UIUC will get a new science and data analysis research facility to support the Department of Mathematics and Statistics. Repairs to lab infrastructure at the Wooler Hall Library and the Noyes Library. And ironically, there's a Madigan Library there, or laboratory, Madigan Laboratory, Noyes Laboratory. Replacement of approximately 11,000 square feet of roofing to the Armory building. Roofing is very important. And so definitely there's going to be some improvements because the state needs to invest not only in infrastructure with regards to roads and bridges, but infrastructure in our university systems as well. So definitely working with regards to that. Also, Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton will be the chair of the task force that is titled the Healing Centered Task Force. It was Senate Bill 646 signed into law, and it is dubbed to bring transformative change and help create a more equitable Illinois. So the premise of this task force, the Healing Centered Task Force, is primarily to look at those who have experienced trauma and how can they get the support that they need. It will be overseeing the Justice, Opportunity, and Equity Initiative housed in her office, and will look collaboratively to ensure that many communities thrive. So congratulations to her being named the chair of this task force. Other than that, in Illinois, here's another little tidbit. In Illinois, just 15% of adults reported excessive drinking, which is smaller than the U.S. average of 19%. So congratulations to to Illinois as a whole. A handful of counties reported 19%, which is the U.S. average of excessively drinking. A lot of these are in Southern Illinois. One in our area, DuPage County. So even though Illinois reported a below average rate of Illinois drinking excessively, we still need to be conscious of the fact that people are driving while intoxicated, and that 30% of motor vehicle crash deaths involved alcohol between 2016 and 2020. So if you are going to drink beverages, alcoholic beverages, please be responsible. Do not drink and drive. And then finally, as we continue to go, I was at a breakfast, speaking at a breakfast with regards to questions that came from the individuals or the questions, and question came up again about the parameters of which the Safety Act and the no bail work. And just to repeat, I know we've talked about this ad litem a lot. We've talked about this, but this is pretty much from the actual law. And here's the situation that it pertains to. An individual named Joshua Livingston has been indicted, has pleaded not guilty to 3 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of homicidal death related to Melissa Ostrom's disappearance. A domestic battery complaint was filed on March 22nd against Livingston. It pointed to a volatile relationship he had with his girlfriend. The 42-year-old was accused of grabbing and throwing his 39-year-old partner to the ground 10 days earlier on March 12th. Livingston was released March 27th after posting $200 bond, the required 10% of his $2,000 bond. Now, this is what we looked at when we looked at the no bond, no cash bail, a part of the Safety Act, that a lot of people got a lot of play in the mess. So the court system set up with regards to no cash bail, it was set up to take into account a potential flight risk or the risk to the safety of the victim and a community. So domestic violence is, in fact, one of the several misdemeanors eligible for detention, and the new law would ultimately provide more latitude to hold these defendants deemed to be a threat, more, not less. They could not post $200 and get out. The support from this bill came from organizations like the Illinois Coalition Against Domestic Violence. So definitely, let's look at the bill. So the bill says, the language of the bill, and I'm just going to read it straight from the law. This is not my interpretation, reading it straight from the actual law. In determining which conditions of pretrial release, if any, will reasonably ensure the appearance of a defendant as required, or the safety of any other persons or the community, and the likelihood of compliance by the defendant with all the conditions of pretrial release. The court shall, these are really important words, shall and may, when we're drafting law. So the court shall, on the basis of available information, take into account such matters as, and this is subsection 6, when a person is charged with a violation of a protective order, domestic battery, aggravated domestic battery, kidnapping, aggravated kidnapping, unlawful restraint, aggravated unlawful restraint, cyberstalking, harassment by telephone, harassment through electronic communications, or an attempt to commit first-degree murder committed against a spouse or current or former partner in a cohabitation or dating relationship, regardless of whether an order of protection has been issued against the person, the court may consider the following additional factors. So we had a shall. Now we have a may for additional factors. Subsection A of subsection 6, whether the alleged incident involved harassment or abuse as defined by the Illinois Domestic Violence Act of 1986. Subsection B, whether the person has a history of domestic violence as defined by the Illinois Violence Act of 1986 or a history of other criminal acts. Subsection C, the mental health of the person. Subsection D, whether the person has a history of violating the orders of any court or governmental entity. Subsection E, this is important, whether the person has been or is potentially a threat to any other person. Subsection F, whether the person has access to deadly weapons. Subsection G, whether the person has a history of abusing alcohol or any controlled substance. Subsection H, the severity of the alleged incident on the basis of the alleged offense, including but not limited to the duration of the current incident, whether the alleged incident involved the use of a weapon, physical injury, that's important, sexual assault, strangulation, abuse during the alleged victim's pregnancy, abuse of pets, or forcible entry to gain access to the alleged victim. Subsection I, whether a separation of the person from the victim of abuse or a termination of the relationship between the person and the victim of abuse has recently occurred or is pending. Subsection J, whether the person has exhibited obsessive or controlling behaviors towards the victim. Subsection K, whether the person has expressed suicidal, homicidal ideations. Subsection L, any other factors deemed by the court to have a reasonable bearing upon the defendant's propensity or reputation for violent, abusive, or assaultive behavior or lack of the behavior. So I know that there's still been some discussions with regards to the Safety Act. This is the main crux of that no cash bail provision in the Safety Act. This is the law to protect victims of domestic violence, to protect individuals in the community. Simply just read the law. Now, finally, we're going to end on a positive note. Not really talking about all these things that come across my desk, but going back to the State Fair in Springfield, congratulations to Representative Charlie Meyer. He was one of the successful bidders at the last week of the Illinois State Governor's Fair of Champions. So Representative Meyer, was it last week? It was last week. Yes, 2 weeks ago. I'm getting my weeks mixed up. About 2 weeks ago. So Representative Meyer and two of his local businesses bid $3,100 to buy the fair's champion bacon, produced by Albion's Behrman Meat and Processing. So Representative Meyer said he and the owners of the two companies have been doing business with the processing company for years, and he just wanted to give back to the community. And then the winning bid, which was the highest price paid for a non-livestock auction item, Governor Pritzker and First Lady M.K. Pritzker had the highest overall bid of $105,000 for the champion steer, tying the record they had previously set the year before. So again, if you haven't gone to the fair, maybe set it on your calendar for next year. The Illinois State Fair is definitely it's definitely quite interesting to go to. If you can't go all the way down to Illinois, we had several county fairs in the area: DuPage County Fair, Kane County Fair, of course, Sandwich Fair, and all the fairs in the area. So with that, I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend, Labor Day weekend. Salute to labor. Appreciate all that labor has done for us. And we will be back in 2 weeks. And again, stay cool, drink a lot of water. COVID's still out there. Be safe and have a wonderful week. Take care, everybody.